Gloria Strode, and welcome to Straightforward. We are on location in New York City with our awesome friend Patrick at On the Rocks, and we have an expert in liquors from all around the world. And before we get started, Patrick, I just want to make sure that I thank our host, Howie, who is the owner of this wonderful establishment. Your team is an awesome team. We can't thank you enough for the excellent hospitality. Yourself, Dario, and you all have really held this team together, traveled all over the world, and you brought some of the most impressive and interesting drinks. And that's why we wanted to come and share with you all. And of course, Howie is the coolest guy, and he and I were going back and forth in a conversation, and he was like, yeah, we have some that's $2,200 a drink, $1,800 a drink. Yeah. And I was like, really? So in my life, I was a social worker, as I told you before, so that's so far out of the spectrum for me. But you are credentialed
Yes.
in world liquors. So share with our audience your background and how all of this came to be for you.
Yeah, so I do have a certification diploma in single malt whiskey from the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy, which I got because I've been working here at On the Rocks, sort of studying the uniqueness of whiskey. I work pretty much entirely with whiskey right now as a spirit, but even within the category, there's a lot of different types of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And the more the world is growing and changing and connecting with each other, the more people are asking new questions and trying to make new forms of whiskey and sort of stretch the boundaries of that box that we label whiskey. So getting to be a part of this team with Howie has been about learning the different styles of whiskey and collecting some of the coolest things that come through New York, getting to listen from the master distillers or the blenders or some of the brand ambassadors that are launching these whiskeys, what it's all about, so we know how to sell it and also how to enjoy and appreciate it for its uniqueness.
So this is the On the Rocks Rare Whiskey Manual.
We call it the Top Shelf Bible.
Okay, the Top Shelf Bible. And this explains to some of your VIP guests, those that can afford $2,200 a drink and $1,800, $1,200
What
a drink.
makes them so interesting.
And what makes them so interesting, because that is, like I said, that is so far-reaching for, for me and my circle. So share with our audience. You've selected some here today.
Yeah.
And these are some of the ones I was intrigued by that Howie shared with me. So educate us on what we have here.
Yeah. Of the 400 whiskeys that we've got collected here in the house, different ones are from different regions of the world. So we've got a rye whiskey, we've got a Japanese whiskey, we've got American whiskey from Canada, we've got a Scotch whiskey, a different Scotch whiskey, and we have a bourbon whiskey. And since you had caught your eye on some of these, I thought it might be fun to talk about them for this segment.
All right.
Along the way, we've got Japanese Hibiki whiskey, very accessible, not nearly as crazy priced. Something that people are seeking out and hunting because it's very accessible and out in the world. Suntory is the oldest Japanese whiskey distillery.
And so what is it? The oldest? Suntory.
Oldest
the
whiskey
oldest
distillery.
Japanese distillery. Okay. Yep. All right. So we're getting
It's been about 100 years now.
Okay.
They've been making whiskey.
All right.
Which is a huge deal for them to be global and to have a presence all over the world.
All over the world.
And their blends are just so delicate and exquisite that they literally named it Harmony. So
Harmony.
is
that what that is?
Yep.
See, I didn't know what the symbols were, but I like the decanter.
Yeah.
That speaks a lot about me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that is Japanese.
Yep. That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Over here, the one that really caught your eye is
Yes.
This is a 40-year-old single malt Scotch. There's only 800 bottles of them in existence.
This.
The youngest whiskey of the 5 barrels put together from the same distillery, all single malt whiskey juice, is 40 years old. And
so my son is 40 years old. So this, like you said, this has probably grown and changed like I've grown and changed in 40 years. And so it's only, what, 800 bottles?
800 bottles on the planet.
On the planet. Oh my goodness. And this one is how much?
This is $2,250 a glass.
Okay.
Because there's less than 10 bottles in all of New York.
Really?
Yep.
In New York?
Yep.
And you all have one?
We have one of them.
At On the Rocks.
Here at On the Rocks.
All right now, fine whiskeys. Okay.
That's probably what he's drinking in the photo.
Okay. Oh, really?
I don't know.
That would fit him. He's such a high class guy. I love him. Okay. So what do we have here?
Next to that, we have the Rare Hare. So this is a company that believes in chasing really interesting and tasty spirits, much like hunting rabbit. This particular one is a 30-year-old Canadian rye whiskey finished in a French wine barrel, Pinot de Charentes. So it's a little bit spicy, a little bit hard to get around.
So it's rye.
But it's a 30-year-old Canadian rye whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah. And that one's called the Lucky Bastard.
Okay.
Which,
that's the one that Howard,
yes.
he shared, and I was like, okay, so these names are very creative. Okay.
Marketing is important when
It
it comes
is.
to sales.
With everything. With everything, marketing is important. Okay.
But we recently had a customer see that on the shelf, also caught their eye and cracked it. And so the staff tasted along with them and were able to talk a little bit about the spiciness of the rye whiskey and the Charentes barrel. Whereas a different sort of rye is much more robust and earthy, spicy. We've got the Boss Hog over here, which is a Whistle Pig whiskey.
And that sounds very southern. So
yes.
What's the story behind the Boss Hog?
So the Boss Hog is named for the character from Dukes of Hazzard. The master distiller some years ago.
So that's a southern thing.
Yes, very much a southern thing.
Uh-huh.
And the master distiller wanted to stay on theme for the brand Whistle Pig, and they were thinking up some pork-related puns and wordplay, and it made complete sense to do Boss Hog. And Boss Hog is their biggest high proof.
Really?
It's always over 100 proof. Very full-bodied whiskey, just like Boss Hog himself.
Oh yes.
And they are always 13 years old, but they're finished in different barrels. So this is finished in a Armagnac barrel.
Okay.
I believe it's over 30-year-old Armagnac.
Okay.
And so it's an old French brandy barrel that
Okay.
really adds a lot of flavor on top of that.
Okay, so the barrel makes the difference.
Yeah, barrel makes the
See,
difference.
I'm learning something. I tell you, this is intriguing. No, really, it is. Yeah.
This is also cool because Boss Hog changes every year.
Okay.
They do the little pewter top so you know what's different between each one.
And that's you want to save that when it's all over.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's a collector's item.
It
This one,
is.
less than 2,500
And
bottles.
that's actually silver on the top.
Pewter.
Pewter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this was a 2018 release.
Okay.
So it doesn't exist anymore. So this is one of the last bottles of it kicking around the planet.
Really?
Yep.
So this is exclusive.
Very exclusive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that speaks to the clientele that comes to
Oh, yeah.
On the Rocks. So I'm just really excited and proud to be here today. I just couldn't believe when Howie said, yes, come to New York, we'll do this. You know, the door is open, hospitality, the team has it, you know, you and Tyler, you all are welcome. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah.
He appreciates curiosity and interest in whiskey.
Well, awesome team. Well, what we're going to do before we continue this conversation, we're going to go to our first break. To our sponsors, we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors. Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided. A touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road, trusted by generations. Whole Patient Healthcare. Dr. Jada Rimes-Bacote is board certified in family medicine. She believes the best patient care includes practical, individualized lifestyle changes. Located at 1338 13th Avenue, Columbus, 706-641-2080, or visit wholepatienthealthcare.com. And welcome back to Straightforward. I am so excited to be here in New York City with my awesome friend Patrick, my wonderful host Howie at On the Rocks, and these are the people that make sure the folks in New York get to experience all of the whiskeys of the world. And Patrick, you are a subject matter expert. Not only are you credentialed in whiskey, because we did our research and we were trying to find the name of the person, because we could see it for the wine person. We couldn't see it for the liquor person, but of course you've gone on over to Scotland or somewhere, because that's how you roll. See, I like excellence. So my friend Patrick has credentials, and he's been all over the world, Every night, he can take you on a tour with, how many bottles do you have here?
400 different whiskey bottles.
All right, and this is top shelf. This is not what you get to go at your local store, or they, in some places, believe it or not, they sell it in the drugstores. You know they sell liquor in the drugstores.
Different for every state.
Exactly, but this is the top of the line. And before we go too far, Patrick, I wanted to point out, and I promised my friend Keith Phillips, who's a graphics artist, I called him up and I said, Keith, I'm going to New York. My friends are hosting me, and as a Southerner, you know we have to bring a gift. And so Keith Phillips with the Black Box Art Gallery, young African-American, very talented. I wanted him to do that of Howie. He did it, he brought it to me, and I was so excited.
It
And
looks
then
great.
when you saw it, you said, he would love this.
He's gonna love this.
Yes, and so I just wanted to put that plug in for my awesome friend Keith, and just want to thank you all so much. This is great hospitality. When we came in today, you said, Howie said, the house is yours. Whatever you want to do. I have known people my entire life and never had this level of hospitality and welcoming, and I am very humble and I'm very thankful. So I want to let you and the team know how much we appreciate this.
Absolutely.
All right, so all that knowledge you got, and I'm just amazed.
Yeah.
So let's go back to all of these that are not in my budget, unless I win the Georgia
They're
lottery.
not in mine either.
Yeah, the Georgia lottery. So what
It's-
else do we have here?
So we do have 2 more bottles. Going from a very older, hard-to-find whiskey, we have a
Okay.
brand new, hard-to-find whiskey. This
Okay.
just hit the market a couple weeks ago. This is a brand new release from Lefroy, very recognizable Scotch distillery, very peaty, very smoky barbecue, sort of iodine-y, rough Scotch whiskey.
So the barrels make a difference.
They
too.
do.
Okay. all right.
How you treat the barrels, and also how long it sits in the barrel. So part of it is about the ingredients you use.
Right.
Part of it is about what you're putting it into.
Okay, so this says 36.
That is one of only 200 bottles on the planet, and it is a 36-year-old whiskey.
Really?
Yep.
One of 200 bottles.
Ever.
Okay, ever.
First release.
So this is definitely not in my tax bracket. It's not, Patrick. So soon as we're done,
Yep.
I want you to move all of these. It's not in my tax bracket.
Totally
Okay,
fine.
so the next one is.
And then the next one, we do have a Pappy Van Winkle. We actually got the whole Pappy Van Winkle collection. I'm not sure if the camera can see it from
that?
there. But in order to talk a little bit about some of the rarities, the name has been kicking around for 10, 15 years. It's become much more notable as a bourbon because it's very hard to come by.
Mhm.
They only make a few thousand bottles of each of the Pappy Van Winkles per year, and that means a few thousand bottles, a lot more people than that in the United States. There's not that many bottles going around.
Okay.
So we're very lucky to have the collection. We work hard to try and make sure we get one of everything in the whole line, but
Mhm.
15 is my favorite. So if I can only pull one down for your display, I wanted to make sure you got the one that I like.
Okay, and so is this smooth or
This is a very smooth bourbon. It is 107 proof, so it's a little bit hotter, but it is a weeded bourbon.
107 proof?
Yeah.
Woo!
But try
So you
this.
only really need one glass of this, is what you're
Oh,
saying?
yeah.
Okay,
And maybe a drop of water. You don't even need an ice cube on this.
Really?
As much as we love to talk about on the rocks, there's a lot of whiskey that's served neat in here.
serve neat, so that means no ice.
Howie likes to joke, as God and the master distiller intended. You serve the whiskey as it was put in the bottle.
Okay, fine
But
whiskeys.
it's-
That's what he always says, fine whiskeys. He served the finest whiskeys.
It's absolutely fine to put an ice cube in any of these whiskeys. There's no wrong answer. Ice is just sort of frozen water that stretches out the
Right.
water that was already in the liquid, so it's still drinkable, but
Right.
different taste buds, different sensitivities. There's nothing wrong with an ice cube or throwing it in a mixed drink. There's
Okay,
different tax bracket for all of us on mixed
exactly.
drinks.
So we got something from $2,200
Mhm.
displayed here,
Yep,
all the way down to
$32 a glass.
32. So that's probably my tax bracket. The one that I like, the nice decanter.
Yeah.
Right, and that would have to be when I'm splurging.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I told you off camera, in my other life I was a social worker. And so we
Understood.
were very hard work, underpaid, dressed up and broke.
Mhm.
I even had an office with a window. It didn't have any money, just looked good, you know. But it was a good mission to be on, you
Yeah.
know. It wasn't something I was gonna get rich with. Certainly could not have afforded any of these other than the one for $32.
But that's part of Howie's mission here, is setting up a bar where people can come and chase whiskeys that they don't always get access to, and being
and
able
exposure.
to ask questions about the things that they're hunting.
Right, and so that was what this visit was about, to
Yeah.
educate and inform me on all of these things, because I was pretty much stalking him. Because every time, I guess he thought, well, look, I'm not teaching a class right now, because I had all these questions, like single malt.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a term that I learned from Howie.
Yep.
So the single malt, does that make it smoother?
Different for different people. So single malting is a distillery labeling because malting is a process that can be done to the cereal grains.
Okay.
If it's made from cereals and it's turned into alcohol and it's put in a barrel, it's considered whiskey.
Okay.
But different countries have different sort of subsections,
Okay.
different little rules about it. And one of those processes is malting the grains first, which is a way of sort of germinating the seed so it produces more sugars, and then roasting those seeds, like roasting pumpkin seeds.
Oh, really?
And then you add all of those ground up malted barley seeds into the vat when you're making the beer stage, the fermentation,
Right.
before you turn it into whiskey. And if you follow that process with every cereal that's thrown in there, it's considered single malt because it was all one factory
Right.
distillery.
Right.
It was all under that malting process, and that's
Right.
consistent through all the liquor that
So
comes out.
this is like science.
Yeah.
It really is. And you know, for people that just go into the liquor store, I never really put that much thought into it until I met Howie.
Yeah.
I really did, because I was like, okay, well, people drink, my friend, who was my best friend, passed away, she drank Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
So we know Jack Daniels, you got the black label, the red, you know, that stuff. But I didn't realize, and then of course you got the little trendy drinks that, you know, the entertainers come up with, and but some of these, just the history.
Yeah.
Right, and so you all have everything in this, what, 400 bottles from
And it rotates all the time.
Japan, Korean.
Yep, there's a
Do we
Korean
have a
version.
Korean?
We do have one over here. We'll put
Okay.
that on down later.
All right.
But yeah, it's about understanding and appreciating the differences because the environment that it's in, the way it's been made,
Right.
and the stuff that it's aged in, much like some people become lawyers, some people become doctors, some
Right.
people become hospitality or social workers.
Right.
All of those things change how it matures.
Right.
And that all has an impact, even if you're starting with the same cereal grains.
Right.
It tastes totally different.
Okay, and it's how you treat it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
That's-
it's like a steak, it just depends on how you prepare.
And that's the simplest way to explain it. It's much more scientific than that. But
Right.
I that's the next certification. There's a group called the Council of Whiskey Masters.
Right.
That's what I'm studying for later on.
Okay.
They're all chemical engineers. They're the guys who make and
Okay.
sell these things.
And
A little
so
more
you,
advanced
will
than
you
me.
have to, you be able to do that remotely, or you're gonna have to go to Scotland? 'Cause
Well-
if you need to go to Scotland, I can go with you.
Some of the tests can be done online. Some of them have to be done in person.
Okay.
So we're finding
So that's
a
gonna be our
balance
next
between the two.
designation.
Yes.
All right, and so
When we take the show on the road.
yes, and I'm coming with you. Yes, I am.
Exactly.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now, go to our break to our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Cool.
We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors. David Benefield at the historic Highland Hall, florist extraordinaire, making dreams come true for all occasions. Visit David and his team today at 1504 17th Street or call 706-324-4881, where happiness blooms. Barbara's Cleaning Service, a 5-star commercial service with satisfied customers in Georgia and South Carolina, built on the principle that every detail matters. Barbara's Cleaning Service, a new season building a family legacy. And welcome back to Straightforward. I am enjoying this amazing visit with my friend Patrick at On the Rocks in New York City, and this has been a wonderful trip. I am so very, very thankful. I can't say it enough. I want all of our viewers to know that contrary to everything they heard about New York, hospitality is good. You know, people have really just been wonderful, from the hotel, every restaurant here on the Rocks. And my wonderful friend Howie has owned this. He's been in the business himself about over 50 years.
About 50 years now, yeah.
Right, and so you all have been at this location for how long?
15 years.
15
Yep.
years, okay.
Yeah.
And so you survived during COVID.
We did. We stayed closed. We didn't. Howie paid the rent.
Right.
The place was staying as it was. We couldn't really change it. We couldn't do outdoor
Right.
seating.
Right.
Building a bar with no food is a very
Right.
particular sort of setup.
Oh, absolutely.
But he kept
and
us
at
going.
at this price too.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a special clientele.
And that was
Specific. That was what was your
important.
intent.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He wanted to maintain that integrity along the way. So
Mhm.
he said, I know it's hard. You guys, we can furlough, do the thing. You guys can collect unemployment, and we'll reopen when we're able to do it the way we need to do it. And,
Do it the
and
right
keep,
way.
keep it the right way.
Right.
And when we reopened, just about 3 years ago this week, actually, beginning of
Really?
July 2021,
Okay.
we had a lovely celebration.
Uh-huh.
We had guys outside smoking some cigars, drinking some bourbon,
Right.
and
So
we
it
had
was a
full
relaunch.
house. We had
Yeah.
a full house for the relaunch that very first night.
Wow. Okay. Well, when it's good and it's special, and this is a special place, not because I'm here, but I have been all over the world, followed my husband who's military and corporate. I've even been to Monte Carlo and I have not seen this. Not saying they didn't have it, but I didn't see this. So
Well,
this is specific, and this is a labor of love, not just for Howie, but for the team. Because you all have been together for a long time, and I was telling you on the sidebar, that's unusual.
Yeah, I've been at the same place for 8 years, which doesn't
Mhm.
happen very often in New York.
Mhm.
But while it is easy to have the bartenders be the face of the operation, Howie's the heart of the operation, and we care a lot about whiskey, and we care a lot about people knowing and appreciating what they're drinking, and that teamwork makes it very easy because we want the same thing.
Right, and so there is a whiskey event here that you all attend.
Yep.
In addition to all of your trainings, and then when you get that other credential and go to Scotland, I'm coming on site with you on the road, with that one. But you all attend events in the United States and Canada and other places because you want to stay on the leading edge.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's about 25 distilleries here in New York that make vodkas and gins and whiskeys and brandies,
Mhm.
and so we can go to some of those easy as pie on the weekend.
Uh-huh.
But there's also, when some of these really rare or special whiskeys launch, there are special events
Mhm.
where the distiller themselves or a brand ambassador or a master blender might come and talk about why is it so rare, why is it so expensive, why is it so unique. And we try and get tickets to those when possible. We can learn about it from the horse's mouth.
Right.
But also there are a few big events every year, expos, conventions like anything else. The one that most people know about is Whiskey Fest, which is in November. It's always really sold out quick. I have to check online now. But Whiskey
Really?
Fest is right here in Times Square. It's a huge deal. Brands from all over the world coming to New York, getting stuff that you can't always get easily in the United States, with the brands coming and representing and talking about new stuff. And then some of the smaller spirits, bourbons and ryes and American single malts, all getting a chance to talk about their product in front of the consumers and learn about the cool new things coming along. So we try and attend those events so that we know what the heck we're selling.
Right. So when you go to these events
Yeah.
and the distillers are there, you get to sip or you just get to listen to the lecture.
Oh no.
It's a lot of sipping.
It's show and tell. It is
It's a whole lot of sipping going on.
It's a lot of smaller sips,
Okay,
because when there's only a handful of bottles on the planet,
right,
with billions of people to drink
right,
it, you don't
It's a
want to
taste.
waste too much promo
right,
material.
right.
But we do get some very little fine tastes, which
Okay.
maybe we can do after the interview,
Okay,
and get to understand what it is they're talking about. What's the poetry? What made it special?
okay.
And so sometimes we'll take notes. I've got a notebook full of scribbles about what the whiskey tastes like.
So this is
what it
like being
smells
a college student. You're a master class.
Every
It's a
day of my
master
life.
class. No, but you have to know that.
Yeah.
So when the customers come in, you have to be able to explain why that's $2,200 and why that's $1,800.
We think that the customer deserves that information to understand what they're spending on.
So Dario, before you joined us, Patrick took me through a flight of some of the top notch, from $2,200 down to probably what I could afford, which was like $25 a shot in my tax bracket. But what you're going to share with our audience is Japanese. And these are all Japanese brands.
Yes, all three of these.
Okay, and so share with us the first one.
So this one is Yamazaki 12. This is what you would consider to be kind of a benchmark of Japanese whiskey.
Okay,
This distillery started Japanese whiskey about 100 years ago.
okay,
So it uses white oak, Mizunara oak, which is a tree that is original in Japan.
okay.
That tree has to grow for about 200 years before they're allowed to cut it down.
Really?
Yeah. Then that wood is notoriously leaky, so kind of leave it to the Japanese to perfect it a little bit.
Okay.
But it
Alright.
imparts very interesting notes, sandalwood, incense, but a little bit
Really?
kind of sherry notes as well. It's a very well balanced whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this, in terms of cost,
Cost, if you were going to buy the bottle like in a store,
yes,
probably around $220.
okay.
Yeah.
$220. So for the people that have everything and you want to give them a nice gift,
Yeah.
if they're retiring or something, you can buy them that.
No one's gonna complain getting a bottle of Giannis, I can tell you.
Okay, and so this is going to be a very smooth.
Yes, so it wasn't always that expensive, but
Right.
it became very popular and very scarce over time.
Okay.
So it became expensive. So it's got this kind of interesting thing where the flavor is unassuming but very delicious,
Okay,
but suddenly became luxurious.
I got you. All right, so now it's luxurious.
Mhm.
And because it's not plentiful, then it's popular.
Exactly, and the reason
Okay.
why I poured this first is because I still consider this to be the benchmark. This is
Okay.
what every other distillery wants to be. They strive to be this
Ah,
flavor.
okay, so everybody wants to copy that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the bar.
Yeah.
That's the bar. Okay, and what do we have here?
So this is kind of representative of what's new in Japanese whiskey.
Okay.
This is Kanosuke. They are a newer distillery.
Kanosuke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brand new distillery. This is their first kind of releases. They did a 2021 release, a 2022 release, and a 2023 release. This is the
Okay.
2022.
And this is a malt.
Yes, they're all single malts, with the exception of this one.
Okay.
But this is done with a sherry cask influence, which this is also similar, but has a shochu cask influence. Shochu being another spirit that's from Japan.
Okay.
This same distillery has connections to a shochu distillery, and that's why they started to use those barrels with it.
Okay.
So
So
now
the barrel again, and Patrick taught me that earlier, the barrels that really make a difference.
it really
And
does.
how the barrel is treated.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
So this is kind of breaking from the norms of what this is.
Okay.
And this kind of represents what's new in Japanese whiskey.
All right, so this is old school,
Yep.
and this is new school.
Mhm.
So is this more affordable?
A little bit more affordable.
Okay. A little bit. Did you hear that, Patrick?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more affordable.
I think
Okay.
a bottle of this in a store probably costs you around $180 around there.
Okay, all right, so that is, right, it's under 200.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So, what do we have here?
So this one here is very special. This is from the Fuji distillery. They are actually at the base of Mount Fuji. They use the same water from Mount Fuji, which has to filter through the rocks in the ground for about 50 years before they're able to access it.
Filtering through the rocks.
Yeah, so you get very good minerality that comes from it.
Really?
Their flavor profile is what they call clean and estery. So think stone fruits like apricots or peaches.
Yes.
Peach cobbler.
Yes, I'm from Georgia, and
Oh,
I'm a
So you should really like this then.
This has been straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.